Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of the How Long to Beat podcast. For I think the second time this season, I haven't thought of anything clever or funny to go with, so we're just going to jump straight in, I think. It's your usual host, so it's me, Rick, Paula, ever so slightly late, and Alex from the closet.
Hey!
How are we all?
I am sitting in the closet to avoid the barks of the puppy.
With ever so slightly ominous shadows dropping behind you. But it's all good, and we've got a lot to crack through, because we've all actually been playing lots of games, whether that's lots of games actually, or lots of games relative to before we had exams. So we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about the games we've beaten and retired as well. And then we're going to move on to a topic. This week it's going to be the games that got us into gaming. And we'll take a question from the forums before moving on to the pièce de résistance of this podcast tour de force. Say it with me. How long to beat the game?
The game!
Well, maybe, to be fair, that sounded almost on point. I don't think we'll need to do anything in post on that. That was perfect.
I don't think we can expect anything better than that.
No, probably not. Alex, why don't you kick us off with a game that we've actually both played?
Yes. The Valley. Or just Valley, actually. I realize it's
just
not
Valley,
the
yeah.
Valley. It's just Valley. I saw you mentioned you were playing this, and I just saw it. It was like $3 on the Microsoft Store, and so I was just like, yeah, whatever, why not? I'll play it. And I enjoyed this game, but also was like extremely frustrated by it. Like, the way I'll put it is that This is a game that I think is closer to being great than not, but a couple missteps here and there just kind of hold it back a little bit, you know? For those who don't know, essentially the game is like, you're basically in, I don't know, it's in indistinct time, but it's kind of like World War II fiction, and you're in the Canadian Rockies, and you get this thing called a leaf suit, and you're kind of zooming all over the place. You can like steal life force from things, and you can give life force to other things, and it's basically like a, would you call it like a movement platformer, I guess, but like a fast movement focus, I don't know, like a Mirror's Edge-ish sort of thing.
I sort of want to coin the term running simulator.
Oh, actually, that's legit. Yeah.
It works because it's very story focused, but there is also like a lot of running and platforming. And the weird thing is, it's at its best when it's not really asking you to do a lot, and it's just letting you sort of muck around in this really pretty world that it's built for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think we sort of share the same thing, which is like, it was good, but it wasn't great, and we had a fun enough time with it. But it's hard to recommend unless like it really looks appealing to you already.
Yeah, and if it's really cheap, if it's on sale, like I didn't feel like I wasted my money. I mean, I spent about 6 hours on it because I was kind of poking around and like doing some optional-ish stuff, and I enjoyed it. It's at its best when you're going real fast, because like it has a couple set pieces that are just like genuinely like the music kicks in and you're like, this is dope, you know, and like it was just fun and good, and it's sort of a first-person shooter-ish thing, too. Like, there are some of these, like... But, like, they're not even really enemies. They're so easy. It's, like, it's so laughably easy to defeat the enemies in the game. And I'm doing air quotes on a podcast, which is super effective. But, enemies. You know? Like, I don't know. You, like, shoot this energy at them, and, like, they die after, like, 3 hits. And you're like, okay.
But they're both easy and oddly annoying to deal with.
I think it's because they're so easy that they're annoying. Like, whenever you see them, you're like, oh, all right, I guess I'll do this stupid thing again, just so I can get back to the fun movement.
I think the thing that annoyed me as well is just because the ammo that you use is the same force that you use for, like, what passes for puzzles in this game, and to do your double jumps and a couple of other things. And I was never running short, but it always bothered me that I had to be conscious of it. And I get why they linked it into the system, but it just... I think we both said while we were playing it, I wish they just hadn't bothered.
Yeah. I honestly think like it was strong enough as like a running simulator, like quote unquote. I was like, I think it was actually good enough like that. Like it felt like they weren't necessarily confident enough in that element. So I will say one other thing that I have to kind of... It's not a big deal, and like if you enjoy it, whatever, but like they play really fast and loose with mythologies, and like it's no big deal, but in some ways it is, because like it's set in the Canadian Rockies, which also is weird because like it's an American military operation set in the Canadian Rockies, and like, look, I know Canada and the US, like, anyway, but it was just, you're like, okay, so it's a secret U.S. operation in Canada. All right, that's weird enough. But then secondly, it implies that there is this like ancient civilization within Canada, and just sort of completely glosses over the fact that there's been like Indigenous Canadian or Indigenous peoples living here for like generations, like literal centuries. And so it's just kind of like I assume they didn't really know about this. Yeah, it's really tone deaf in a lot of ways. Like you're like, this is a bit weird. And the fact that made me a little more uncomfortable is that one of their audio logs actually mentions an indigenous story, like the Wendigo, which is like Cree, Dene, like a whole bunch of different cultures. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, so you're gonna reference one, so clearly you know about this. So like, you didn't do even like a little bit of due diligence and like think about where you're setting this, like, because they could have literally just made it as in like, the military found a portal to another, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, I don't know. It's already fantasy, so why not just like go all out? But it's a small complaint that a lot of people probably won't notice, but it's just something
I certainly didn't. I thought they just sort of made up their own thing and pulled the Wendigo in from whatever.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. Oh, so you found that audio log thing too then. Okay, cool.
I did, yeah, and I recognised it, but it hadn't even occurred to me that that's something that they just sort of pilfered from the actual place that they'd come from and just like slapped it on their chibi dream aliens and made it their own thing. That didn't occur to me as like a problematic thing in the slightest at the time.
It's just,
but then,
yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say we played it very differently because you clearly like stopped and thought about it a lot more. My playtime's literally half that of yours. I blasted through it, but like you say, that's when it's most fun, when you're just going fast and not thinking about things too hard.
Yeah, and to be clear, Paula, you should never play this game because it is fast-paced first person.
Okay.
Your head will literally pop.
Because I know you talked about how first person is not your jam, and this is definitely...
Yeah. Motion sickness is real.
Yeah, this will definitely make you feel motion sick. I mean, there was even a moment or two in this game where I was like, whoa, I gotta slow down for a second. Anyways, so yeah, we both beat that one. I beat 3 other games. I think we all beat almost 3 or 4 games this week, which is impressive.
Yeah, 3 minimum each. If I can sort of direct you next, just so I've got a little segue, from a game that we both beat to a game that you beat and I retired in utter disappointment, my friend Pedro.
Oh yeah. Oh, you retired this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get on with it. I get that it was good. I get what it was going for. It just didn't click for me. But
I don't think it's inherently good. I think it's fine. It's I don't know. I beat it because it's short as hell. And I was just like, whatever. I just want to get through it. It's kind of fun arcadey action. The humor is so trying way too hard. Like it's not funny. Which could be a make or break thing for a lot of people. It's trying to be like random, I think, and it's not really working for me, and it never justifies itself. It's kind of like, how would I even describe this game? You know, it's a bit like Katana Zero, and it's like one of these, you know, it's not really one hit, one kill because you do have life, but the whole point of it is that like you're running through, slowing down, like shooting all these enemies, and like it's supposed to be this kind of arcadey action in the likes of like Ape Out and stuff, and like Hotline Miami, except it's you know, side-scrolling perspective. And it's just some of the mechanics I didn't really understand. Like it had this slowdown mechanic that wasn't actually fun to use, because when you slow down, it got really slow. And so it's most fun when you're quickly going through and like jumping and doing these crazy maneuvers and shooting enemies. So I don't know. I didn't love it. It controls so weird, and yet it works. But like your character's movement is just the weirdest thing in the world. And there's this one.
It's almost ragdoll.
Yeah, you're kind of like a ragdoll. I don't know. I liked it enough. It was on Game Pass, and it was leaving on the 15th, so I was like, I should play it. So actually, by the time people listen to this, it's gone. But I still enjoyed it enough. Like, I think if it's on sale a lot, and you like kind of arcadey shoot 'em ups that are sort of silly and like a little loose physics, you'll probably enjoy this game. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. There's a sewer segment that's stupid, and it was long, and I didn't like it. But that's it. And the bosses are kind of whatever in a lot of ways, you know. But I don't know. I feel like I'm being way harder on this game than I probably should be, but it was fine. So you retired it though, huh?
it was a big disappointment because the trailers made it look like exactly my kind of game. And the humor landed in a way that, like you say, it never really did in the main game. My overriding memory is just of it feeling quite sloppy in execution in a number of different ways. And it's long enough ago that I don't know if I can go into much more detail than that. But yeah, that was a real disappointment for me. And I bought it through Humble, so I couldn't even refund the thing, which stung even more. But that's neither here nor there.
I will say that progression felt good in it in some ways. Like, it did have this kind of, like, it taught you how to use the item, and then you went up and you did the next thing. And so I was like, all right, that's nice. But yeah, other than that, I was like, Have you played this one, Paula?
I haven't. It doesn't actually look like my cup of tea because I'm not too into arcade games.
Yeah, then don't touch this. Actually, but a game that might be up your alley. The next two games are actually probably up your alley.
Segue.
Yeah. I beat this game called The Little Acre, which is on Game Pass. It's a hand-drawn point and click adventure game. That's super short. It's like 2 hours long. It's very, very short. And it's very cute. It's quite cute. You play as this like a couple characters. You play as a dad, and then you play as his little daughter with her dog. And it's in that hand-drawn animation style of like maybe like old Disney cartoons where, you know, like the background is static, but the characters are moving within it. It has an asinine story. Like, the story is just kind of, you know what it is? It's like playing a proof of concept. It really felt like this game was like showing like we can make a game, but not a full game whatsoever. Because when you finish it, you're like, I feel like this is where the story should have started. And so you're kind of like, huh. The voice acting is rough, like, because the voice acting is the developers of the game. This is what I'm saying. It's a small team. And look, it's not super bad. It's not 90s levels bad. It's just it's just a bit weak, you know? Like, it's like people who are doing their best. And so it's almost charming because you're like, oh, okay, like, this is their passion project. They're doing their best with this. But when you compare it to other point and clicks, you're just like, ooh.
And VA is one of those things, like, if you can't, like, there are professionals who get it badly wrong. If you can't do it, you're better off just not.
Yeah. I would call this a solid 6 game.
As does Metacritic. Metacritic is 62, so you bang on.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah. It's on Game Pass, though, so, like, if you enjoy point and click games and you love, like, hand-drawn animation and stuff, I would, like, try it, because it's easy, and really you're literally wasting no money on this if you do that. The last one that I'll talk about real quick is Tangle Tower, which I loved. This is by the people who made Snipper Clips.
Oh,
yeah, this is an excellent developer, and it's another kind of point and click. It's basically Professor Layton meets Ace Attorney.
Oh,
yeah, but
I've played the prequel to this.
You played
just
the prequel
clicked on it.
Yeah,
Detective Grimoire. Yeah, I played it a couple of years ago. It was really good, actually.
Yeah,
Pleasant surprise.
This is beautiful. The animation is gorgeous. The voice acting is superb, and the investigations are so natural and so, like, it just, everything clicks so beautifully. It feels like it's basically like playing one case of Ace Attorney. So it's quite short. It's like 5 hours. When you're done, this is a good thing about a game. Like, when I finished, I was like, no, I want more. Which I always think is a good sign. Yeah, I love this. The writing is fantastic. It's very funny. All the characters are distinct. When you beat it, it unlocks this incredible art gallery of, like, the making of, and it, like, has detailed developer commentary on, like, all the characters and, like, how they were created and, like, how the game developed. And it's just, like, there's a lot of attention and love put into this, and yeah, it's highly, highly recommend this one. This is the best one I beat for sure.
That sounds right up my alley, actually.
Oh, you'll love it. It's great on the Switch Lite too, or on the Switch, because it is fully touch controls. So you can just, like, and which is super nice to just, like, touch everything you want to do in a point and click, but you can also use the controller if you want. So anyway, highly recommend.
Nice. And on things that Paula would like, now you've got completions this week, Paula. Why don't you tell us what you've beaten?
Okay, so First, I'm gonna talk about this little, really, really small visual novel called My Lady, because I actually remember this one well. Alex was like talking about games with small studios and voice acting. This is like a really small studio, a really tiny game, but the voice acting is actually kind of funny. And it is really, really short. Like, the protagonist is like this, I guess, like rich girl that is like in love with her butler and stuff. But the best character is actually the maid, because the voice acting brings her to life in a way that is fantastic. The game is like an hour long if you, not even an hour long if you get like all the endings. It's not like anything spectacular, but for the price and given the size of the studio, it was a really fun short completion.
See, there's a good example though, right? Like good voice acting can elevate something, right?
Yeah, like, and the writing is actually pretty funny. It's like, but life isn't fair. Like, no, if life gives you, how was it? Like, if life gives you lemons, what happens is that if I want to make orange juice, and I can't pin down like the accent of the maid, but her accent just make every line she said like way more funnier than it should have been.
Nice.
It was awesome. Then I finished the Rim 2. It was actually like a game I retired long, long ago. And I don't know why I retired it. Like, the creepiest part was already over. And when it was like the stupidest thing, because I boot up the game and I was like 5 minutes away from from starting the last chapter. And then it took me like half an hour, 40 minutes to beat the last one. So I was sitting on an almost complete game for 2 years, maybe. And and it is pretty much a first-person kind of puzzle/escape room kind of game. And there's this like overall mystery that you're trying to solve. And it kind of picks up where the room game ended up. So you continue like that investigation. And there's actually a third game that I want to tackle eventually, because I really like that's escape room kind of thing. I actually went to an actual escape room with my sisters.
Nice.
And it was a lot of fun. And I think I'm enjoying the Room 2 like more because of that experience. And finally, when the bus was around, this is like a sort of point and click puzzle game, and everything is like hand drawn, and it is beautiful. Like, if I can say like anything at all without like spoiling the story, but you kind of piece together the past in a way. Like, you revisit the memories of the protagonist by this point and click kind of puzzle experience, and the music is beautiful. Like I still have like the theme stuck in my head, and the hand-drawn art, the animations are just as beautiful. So I actually came to know the game because of Nintendo. Of those, I'm gonna start this again. I actually known the game from one of the Indie World presentation, and it is actually on Steam.
Yeah,
and it is very, very cheap on Steam. Actually, I picked it up like in the last winter sale.
Nice.
And very recommended. Great short game.
It looks good. My concern is I've been burnt by Florence, and I want to know how it compares, because I could see myself buying it. Like, you could charitably describe Florence as a point and click game. You could charitably describe Florence in a lot of the ways that you've described that. How does it compare to it?
Okay, this time around you have like a lot more player agency, to say, in a way. Like, you actually have to like look around the room, gather clues and stuff, and solve puzzles inside the space you are in.
Okay.
So it is a point and click adventure, nothing like very complex complex, but it has like puzzles that you really have to think about.
Okay. Because it does look, and this doesn't translate to an audio medium, but it looks wonderful. Like, there aren't really the words. I'm struggling for them. You're spot on with that, Paula.
Yeah, it has similar hand-drawn animation to Florence, like in that look. It does look nice. Well, we did a lot of hand-drawn games this week, I guess.
Sorry, go on.
The main difference with Florence style is that this game has like more sepia-like, warmer colors, and it's like more balanced. Well, Florence, you can say the game is yellow.
Fair.
Florence is a little bit more pastel-y.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you have anything more to say about that before I try and make a really awful segue?
No, go ahead. Go ahead with your awful segue.
So from pastel colours and hand drawings to watercolour paintings, the first of the 4 games that I've beaten this week is a game called Tiny Echo, which is this really weird game full of subtext. I'm trying to search for the right word for it. There isn't really a story. There's no dialogue. Your sole objective is to deliver these 13 letters that have been like beamed down to you from the surface by these random creatures with hands reaching out the back of their heads. It's wonderful and slightly disturbing all at the same time. I love the vibe. Like, it's super mellow. The colours just sort of draw you in. It's all quite dull tones, quite earthy, but quite inviting in the way that it's made. The music is wonderful. It's by an artist called Mount West. Just amazing music. I've had it on in bits and bobs since I beat the game. But it's sort of a stretch to call it a game, because you just sort of click and the play moves. There's like some really, really loose puzzles, if you can call them that. And yeah, I just end up sort of coming away from it thinking, I really enjoyed how that game made me felt for 90 minutes, but I hated having to actually play it, which is a really weird place to be with it. And it was super cheap. I can almost recommend it on that basis. But then I also sort of almost can't. So I'm still sort of processing how I feel about that one a little bit. I played Valley, which obviously we've already spoken about, and we more or less agree on that, in fairness, Alex, I think. So I don't have anything more to say beyond what we said before. I then also played an incredible little narrative game called Space Court. So the concept is you are a space judge. Most of them don't last more than a week, but your job is to try and keep the peace and settle disputes between these 4 or 5 different warring alien factions. It is one of the best written games I've played ever. I don't think it lasted much longer than an hour, but it had me laughing the whole way through. And that's no exaggeration. It had me howling. It's a wonderfully written game. It has a limited sort of branching narrative in the sense that the decisions you make have impacts on the ways that the different races feel towards you, and that bleeds into the way that the game ends. I'm not sure I'd say it was massively replayable, but I think for the price it is, it's only like $2, and for the time that it takes to play it, I don't think there's anyone I wouldn't recommend it to. It really is an excellent experience. And then the one other game I played, and I'll be talking a lot more about the Vita later on in the episode, but I played a little Vita racer called Motorstorm RC, which is, if you imagine the PS3 Motorstorm games shrunk down into remote control car form. It's a good game with some significant drawbacks. The main one is there's no map, and because of the way the tracks are laid out and the way the cars control, you really do need advance warning of where the turns are. And what you find is with most of the courses, you need to like do 1 or 2 dry runs to work out how it actually goes before you're even remotely competitive. It also isn't maybe as well tuned as it might be, and this could be me, so take this with a pinch of salt, because I'm not really a racing game player. But some of the cars felt like you were fighting to try and make them turn at all. Some of the cars felt like they turned if you looked at them the wrong way, and you can lose all your momentum like scraping across the side of a wall, and that can just kill a run for you in a race. But for the price it is, I mean, it's very cheap now. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it's only £4 or £5. It's been a really nice one to have and play through. It's a great sort of pick up, put down game, which I've been gravitating towards since we started recording these again, actually. So well worth taking a look if it sounds like your cup of tea. And yeah, that's all the things that I've been this week. Yeah, so we said we were gonna blast through the retirements next. Paula, do you want to kick us off?
Oh,
What have you retired?
The other
I
Paula.
retired Catlateral damage. You play as a cat and pretty much kick shit out of the way. And I thought it was supposed to be fun, but first person, clanky camera and controls was a killer for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's
What
fair.
about you, Alex?
So yeah.
Yeah, I retired in Bento, just not because it was bad or anything. It's the same thing with Grindstone. I was kind of done. I was like, got through quite a bit of it, had fun. Borderlands 3 I retired because I just got a little tired. This one, out of all the Borderlands, feels especially grindy when it comes, like very clearly is meant to be played with in co-op. So I think I'm just gonna wait. I have a buddy who likes Borderlands, so I might just play it with him later. It's a good game though. And I retired Hades because I'm tired of that game. Everyone loves it. I know. I get it. It's wonderful. It's incredible. It's a roguelite. It's repetitive. It's 90% repetition, 10% interesting dialogue. Look, the dialogue system they've created is amazing, but it's just dialogue boxes. Like, that's it, Like, it's not some crazy thing that happens. It's just occasionally you get new text boxes, Like, I'm like, are we this starved for good story? Like, so anyway, that's my take on Hades. So it's retired. I'm done. What about you?
If you disagree with what Alex is saying, let us know in the comments down below. And while you're there, why don't you hit like and subscribe?
I've been seeing a lot of people though, like on the Game of the Month thing, they're slowly starting to get to the point where they're like, I think I'm tired of this game. And that's the problem with roguelites. As wonderful as they are, they just exhaust you in the end, Like, you never get to just finish it and be like, yay, I beat it. You're like, it like defeats you, which I guess maybe is the theme of
Alex,
Hades.
That's the point. It's an arduous task you're facing. It's ludonarrative congruence.
Yeah, whatever. I don't like this Ludonarrative.
Are you like trying to escape hell in Hades? Isn't that?
Yeah, and that's not what I want to do when I play my video games. Anyway, Rick, what
you
about you?
escape hell by retiring it.
Yeah, and a fun little segue. You played a game that was kind of like hell for you, so
Yeah, which were you referring to? Alien Storm? Then?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, we talked about it because it came up on Pièce de Resistance, How Long to Beat the Game, and you beat it in like 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I had a spare afternoon, so I thought I'll fire it up and have a go. It is like all the worst things of arcade games, and I don't need it. Like, it's a shitty beat 'em up crossed with a really shitty first person gallery shooter. So fuck that. I retired Bouncy Bullets primarily just because it doesn't run very well on Vita, but it's cross-buy, so I'll play it on PS4 eventually. I retired a game called Let Them Come, which is a 2D turret game. A little bit like you with Inventor. It's not that it was bad. It's just that I'd had my fill of it and I didn't really fancy smacking my head against the wall to clear the credits. Like, I was happy with what I'd seen. And then the last one is a weird game called Dark Heritage Guardians of Hope. This was a mystery key from Fanatical, and it's the last time I let myself do that. So I paid like 60 pence for it, but I think it was worth it just for the god-awful CGI in the intro. I will go the extra mile and put a video in the YouTube comments and the show notes. So go and check that out if you need a pick-me-up in these trying COVID lockdown nightmare times. It is wonderful. The game isn't. The game's like a really, really clunky point-and-click game crossed with a really, really clunky hidden object game crossed with like the most atrocious first time £1 on the Kindle store novelist story. It's just not a good combo.
Honestly,
but I feel like I got my money's worth, to be honest.
Like, honestly, any game that has a random selection of like fancy words is guaranteed a shitty sucker. Like, it sounds like, black forestry, sentinels of the deepness. Like, like it's like shit like that where it's just like, you're like, yeah, this game's gonna be bad. Or
second subtitle is polishing of the turd.
Right? Yeah. Like, they're like, we'll make the game sound intense. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Nice.
I feel like it's the kind of game my mum would enjoy though. Like, if you set it up and like let her go with it, I feel like it's the kind of game that a certain generation could totally fuck with, but that's just not me.
That's fair. Yeah. Should we move on to what we're playing then?
Yes, let's.
Yes,
Shall I just roll on?
Yeah, go ahead. Rock and roll.
go ahead.
Nice one. So I've played quite a bit. So I've still been playing Cyberpunk. No new thoughts on that. Still love it. Quite keen to see what they fix in the new patch, which with any luck will actually be out in time for next week. Still been playing Rabbids Go Home. Mm-hmm. Still fine. Been playing quite a lot of Fall Guys this week for two reasons. One, they just dropped some Doom outfits, which is fun. So I've been grabbing crowns as Cyber Demons and Cacodemons. That's been great. And literally, as of the time of recording today, they dropped a game mode where it's all fall ball. So for anyone who isn't familiar, Fall Guys, a little bit like Takeshi's Castle, it's got a lot of different level modes, and more and more people get whittled down until there's one winner. It's like a battle royale sort of thing. And one of the modes is fall ball. Literally just football. You've got like 90 seconds, loads of people, you just sort of jump at the ball and try and make things happen. But sometimes instead of a ball, it'll be a banana, or it'll be like an American football ball, or it'll be a golden egg, like just random shit that's not a ball but vaguely sort of kickable. Full ball is one of my favourite modes, and as of the time of recording, I've got a 100% win ratio when I get to the final round on the full ball game mode. It's weird, like with Fall Guys normally, because I'm someone who plays games more. Do you know what? It is weirdly reminiscent of Rocket League in the sense that you're playing football with something that you're not really supposed to be playing football with. Yeah. Like, it actually does give those vibes a little bit. But with normal Fall Guys, I can really consistently get to the final stage when it's like whoever takes the crown wins sort of thing. But my win ratio sort of plummets from there because it's always the really good people that get there and it's natural competition. With Fall Ball, because the first round is 24 versus 24, like, you don't get through that many opening rounds because it's just a clusterfuck. A fun clusterfuck, but a clusterfuck. But I've got to the last round 3 times and I've won all 3. So it's like an inverse on that. What I'm trying to say is it's a lot of fun and I'm still really enjoying it. So I'm still playing it. And I'll probably play some more of it this week while I'm editing, while I'm listening back. I've been playing an alpha of a game called Grapple Hoops. So it's like a first-person, level-based platformer. You have a grappling hook in one hand, a basketball in the other, and it's about getting to the hoop and making the most insane dunk you can make. It's all like a tech demo at the moment. I'll send you a link in a minute. It could be a phenomenal game if they flesh it out. Like, I mucked around with it for 10 minutes. And there's games that I think you're the same, Alex. I've played so many games this week. I've left games out, but I actively wanted to talk about this, so I left it in. Like, you have to go and give it a go. It's really, really fun. I've been replaying a game called Big Bang Mini on the DS, which is like a firework-themed shoot 'em up. Shoot 'em up? Shoot 'em up. So the way it works is you have a ship and you shoot fireworks, not necessarily from your ship, but by flicking on the touchscreen like you're striking a match.
Nice.
The trick is anything that you miss, if you miss a shot, when it hits the top of the top screen, it will explode like a firework and debris will fall, in addition to all the artillery that's being fired by your opponents. And you have to both move your ship around in between firing to avoid all the debris in the shots, and also move it into place to collect the stars that drop from defeated enemies. And each level is only completed when you collect enough stars.
That sounds kind of
so
neat.
It's a really clever gameplay loop. It all meshes in quite well, and slowly as you go through the levels, you get extra powers. Like if you hold L, you can fire a homing shot, which will be much less powerful, but you don't have to think about aiming. You can just focus on what's coming at you on the bottom screen. You can do charge shots. One world gives you a specific power to that world where you can draw a reflective shield. It does a lot with quite a simple set of mechanics. And it's just got a really wonderful charm to it. It's from that lovely era of DS games where it was quite cheap to develop for. There were lots of studios like cracking on with experiments and trying things in the budget space. I saw it in a shop for £2. Bearing in mind I already own a copy back at my parents' place. And I just got a wave of nostalgia and I wanted to play it, and I don't regret buying it again in the slightest. It's just a really wonderful time. It's lovely. I tried Genshin Impact. Good. Like for a gacha game, it's one of those things. If I didn't know it was a gacha game, I would assume that someone had paid £30 before they'd handed me the controller. Like, it feels like a fully featured game. And so far, looks great, controls great. You know, it's fine. It's pleasantly surprising, I'll go with.
Nice.
I've started Ratchet & Clank Tools of Destruction for PS3. I think I spoke about it last week in our what we're planning to do in 2021. So far, so good. I've only played the opening level in Metropolis, and it definitely feels a teeny bit different to how I remember the original trilogy. But it's got that Ratchet & Clank DNA, and I like what I've seen so far. I've got some time blocked out this weekend to make like a proper plug away and get a few worlds in, so quite keen to talk more about that next week. And then finally, I've got on the show notes Vita Smorgasbord, and there's a little story behind this. I almost killed my Vita? ? Hashtag story time. Hashtag emotional.
What?
So,
a new one?
Yeah. So basically, for anyone who's sort of just tuning into this episode, a couple of months ago, I bought my new baby a red 2000 model Vita from Japan, because you can't get them in the UK, and I really, really wanted one. And the longer I wait, the less available they're going to be and the more expensive they'll get. So I treated myself. Instead of being clever and backing up all of my games on the computer and copying them over that way, I thought, oh, I know, I'll just take the memory card out and put it in the new Vita. It'll be fine. It wasn't fine. It all sort of stopped showing up. Like 2/3 of my games just disappeared.
Oh, God.
But all the file space was still taken up on the memory card. And I've got a 64 gig card, and they've got like a low-key notorious fail rate among the community. So I sort of left it for 6 weeks. I didn't want to think about it. It was giving me sort of low-key anxiety. I was like, I don't want to confirm that it's fucked, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, last week I decided that
cat.
Oh, wow.
Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's handheld.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
the memory card is alive. The memory card is dead.
Until I check, I don't know either way.
Exactly.
So last week I bit the bullet. I decided it's time to work out what's going on with it. Tried it again, still not showing most things. Did a bit of Googling, found someone saying if you rebuild the database a few times, it'll fix itself if you're lucky. And I did that, and I was lucky, and touch wood, everything's back and working again. So I'm a happy bunny, and I've been making up for lost time with the Vita. So as well as Motorstorm, which is obviously one of my completed, I've been playing 4 other Vita games. So I'll rattle through those quickly. So I've been playing Downwell. Given it's still in the vertical orientation, works surprisingly well on Vita. It's actually really, really nice on the screen. Obviously, it's just nice to have it in your hand. It's a perfect game for that. I had it on PC and sort of bounced off it, but I've been playing it quite a lot on Vita. Windjammers, which is like a competitive frisbee battling game. Great fun. I've been playing it like on and off since I got it when they released it back in 2018. There's a sequel coming soon for Switch and PC, which I'm low-key excited about. But the original's still great on PS4 or Vita or Switch or wherever else it's on, if you're interested. I played Bounty Bullets briefly. Obviously, I retired that. I spoke about that. And I've been playing a game called Xenocrisis, which is available on all the platforms, like from the Genesis Mega Drive through to the Dreamcast, all the way up to the Switches and the Vitas and the PCs of the nowadays. And the beautiful irony is that the worst version is the Vita version, because they developed it in Unity, and Unity does not run very well on Vita. So, like, it's not 60 all the time stable. I haven't noticed. So maybe it's more like if you're going for like all the score and trying to be competitively great at it. I've just been having a lot of fun with it. It's like Smash TV. It's a twin stick shooter, but it's like locked in 8 directions for everything. Quite difficult, actually. Really challenging. And one of the unique things it does is your weapon has a limited amount of ammunition. So where in most twin sticks, you're just strafe shooting and that's it. In this game, your gun has like 140 bullets. And when it like hits the last 15, an ammo crate will spawn somewhere on the level. And until you pick that ammo crate up, all you can do is like use a weak knife attack on the enemies. So it forces you to take something else into consideration. It's really good. I'm having a great time with it. I'm not sure if I'll be able to beat it on hard. So there's no normal difficulty. It's easy, hard, and then the next stuff out. And hard is quite tricky. So I may well end up dropping it to easy. But I am having a really good time with it.
Yeah, you weren't kidding when you said you played a lot of games.
Yeah, I don't know where I found the time looking back. And that isn't even all of them. Like, there's 2 games that I've specifically not spoken about today. 1, because I've just started it. And 2, because there's more I want to say, and I know we've got loads to talk about today, so I'll pick those 2 up next week. But yeah, I don't know where I found the time. I honestly don't know how it's happened.
Sometimes that happens, right? You just get a good week where it's like game time. Paula, do you want to take it up? Tell us what you've been playing.
I kind of ended like time and space to play this many games because actually there's one other game that is not on the list there because I haven't played it enough times with a friend. We're like playing the Japanese version of God Realized Guardian of Rebirth for the PS4 to practice that thing called reading kanji because we don't read kanji quite well yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much God Realized Soge no Himegimi or God Realized Princess of Genesis or how it is called here. God Realized Guardian of Rebirth. We are like in the first 10 minutes and that took us like an hour. So I don't have much to say yet that I haven't already said about the game. But I'm also continuing my playthrough of God Realized Shirogane no Kiseki, that is the second fan disc of God Realized. I think my progress from last week is like half of a little like scenario kind of thing. I've been playing Fire Emblem Child of Dragon and the Blade of Light. And I am already at chapter 13, so halfway through the game. I've been playing Slime Rancher, that it is literally the only first-person game that I've been able to play.
That's good, though.
Because the adorableness of the slimes is just way too much, and it gives me energy.
I used to do Big Brothers, like Big Sisters here, which is like, a mentoring program, and I know a lot about Slime Rancher because the young guy that I did, he was like obsessed with Slime Rancher for like a couple months, and he did like everything in that game.
Like,
that's cute.
Yeah, very much like I adore Slime Rancher. Yeah, like you are like in an alien planet, and the aliens are all like cute, fluffy, spongy slimes. And you can't be mad in the game. It's just way too wholesome. And since it is like very laid back in the gameplay department, like you can take it easy. It is easier for me to get into it and not get more to sickness like 10 minutes in. Also, this one is kind of split into 2 games, but it is technically 1. And it is because of the weird beta release that is Hakuoki, Kyoto Winds, and Hakuoki Edo Blossoms. This one was originally like one game that I think it was like Hakuoki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. I think that it was already like the PS3 version of a PS2 game. And it has like 6 routes, maybe 7. And this one has this version like took like a stupid amount of scenes from like the fan disc and stuff. Took like all the original routes. It took like the new 3 routes from some fan disc and then like slapped 3 new routes on it. So Hakuoki Kyoto Winds and Edo Blossoms amounts to the grand total of 13 routes.
Hence the 1 of 13 on the show notes, right? Okay.
Why do you do this to yourself?
I don't know.
I'm just processing the goal. Like, apart from Paula's self-flagellation, a PS3 game that was itself a remake of a PS2 game that they've not only sold you again, they've sold it you again in 2 fucking parts.
Okay, here's the thing: the Switch version that it is out only on Japan has the 2. It's like the 2-pack. Just because it's like one regular game.
Right.
What happened with the beta release, I think the beta release had like the first part that were like the first 5 chapters of the game, and the second part that was like after the route split, the other 5 chapters of each individual character route. That had a 2-in-1 release in the beta in Japan after it got like the 2-part release, but that version never got here. So if you want to play the full Hakuoki remade experience, it is a lot of content. It is a ton of content because I think the first game amounts to around 30 plus hours, and the second game is probably around like the 36-hour mark, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
This makes me want to watch I want someone to make like an in-depth documentary about like how visual novel developers like go about making these things, because
I dread the thing.
It's a whole like different world for me. This is anyway. Sorry, Paula, keep going. This is fascinating.
It is interesting because I actually like investigated like how visual novels are developed, and if you haven't like ever written like a short story, don't ever fucking attempt a visual novel, because you have to make a cohesive world with different versions of it. Anyways, Hakuoki is pretty much like I want to say like an alternative history scenario of the Boshin War in Japan. That was pretty much like the same war, like where the last samurai, where the whole samurai mentality ended, and also like the same war that ended up giving like an opening for Japan to modernize itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, they were like pretty much close to the entire world. So, well, in England, you have like the first cars and stuff. In Japan, you still have like small village, no other like reliable way of transportation, I want to say. So and the whole game takes place like, I actually took some notes here, because the very first chapter of the game, where the protagonist meets like the Shinsengumi, it is like in 1864, I think. No. Yeah. 1864, and I think the game ends up like at the end of the world, that is like 4 to 5 years later. So in terms of the visual, like time inside the visual novel usually amounts to like weeks, maybe like a year, that it's like the case of Code Relays, but this has like a time span of like 5 years. So if you don't like either like know more or less like the amount of time that is passing that you are told, but if you miss it, it's like everything is happening so fast. No, and everything is not happening fast. Everything is taking place over years. Before I go like into too much of a ramble, I just completed like one of the 13 routes with all the endings related to those routes. Nice. And I'm currently like in the second one. And finally, I started playing 13 Sentinels Aegis stream for the PS4, and oh my god, Rick is quietly screaming there.
I'm so excited for you. Is what
I'm currently like in a little over the first hour, so I'm just starting to slowly get into the story. And narrative-wise, I kind of like the style they're going with, if you catch my drift.
Well, you'll still be in the prologues though, right?
Yeah, I got past the third one.
Okay.
And I'm yet to play the third tutorial. Yeah, the third tutorial. So I'm just getting to know the characters right now.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And without going to spoiler, I'm pretty much talking to code to let know Rick, like, where the fuck am I? The third prologue is like, oh my god. I don't know how to feel about this character.
Yeah, it's
And what happened to this character?
Yeah, no comment. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's listening, but I know.
But Rick knows what I'm referring to.
Huh? Well, now I'm intrigued.
Also, the art is amazing. The art is beautiful. Chapkiss.
Yes, absolutely. As is the music. The music's killer.
Music, like at least the title theme music, I really adore. The rest of the music have been like more like subdued in the background for me.
Some of the later battle themes are incredible. As are some of sort of the because it's got a lot of music. Like the OST's 4 hours long, something silly like that. Yeah, there's a lot of music. It's like 80 tracks, and they spread it out. Like you never are exposed to one song long enough for it to be a problem, which is good.
Yeah, I'm really excited to know where this is going because it already is like what?
It's I'm excited for you. It's been as much as I've enjoyed playing it, I've almost as much enjoyed people like you, friend of the podcast, June, other people that I've convinced to give this game a chance. Seeing them hit the points I hit and be like, oh shit, they've just done X, or no, Y isn't true, and I just love reliving that for other people. It's so nice. It's I'm so happy for you, Paula, and I'm so happy that we're here.
I'll get there with y'all eventually. Probably if it goes on sale or when I get a PS5 one day. That's my thing.
It's in the January sale in the UK. I don't know what the EU is, but it's like a third off on the UK store.
Yeah, I'll probably wait till a little more. Just because my PS4 gets
it's a steal at full price.
My PS4 gets 0 use now. It's dusty.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, it was like half price in Amazon.
Yeah.
If I remember.
It happens rarely in Canada, but anyway.
No?
Yeah, I don't know. That game hasn't really dropped much here, but we'll see. I will get it eventually.
Speaking of getting things.
Yeah, what am I been playing? Oh, sorry, Paula, did you have something else?
Oh, I was about to pass the baton to you.
Oh, well, thank you. I will grab that baton then. So yeah, I'm playing Fallout New Vegas. I just saw it. Like I saw that I have the DLC for it when I booted up my Series X because it was like, hey, here's everything you ever bought with us, and I was like, oh, and it was on Game Pass, and I was like, well, I guess I'll try it again. And I don't know if anyone watches, but H Bomber Guy, he did like a video on it recently, and I hadn't watched it, but it kind of reminded me like I kind of want to try that out again. Yeah, it's old. This game feels old. I mean, I think it's extremely likely that I'm going to drop this one pretty soon. It's a great game. Like if you've never played it, highly recommend playing it. But it's just as I started picking it up, it all like rushed back into my mind, you know? Like it was like it's all coming back to me now. Which sort of kills it for me a little bit because when I suddenly remember everything, it less feels like I'm discovering things and more that I'm just like retreading old ground. Which is whereas like, you know, when I played Knights of the Old Republic 2, it actually felt fresh again. It didn't feel like I was retreading old ground. I had completely forgotten. But this one was fresher in my mind. And there's no sprint button. Like, you walk so slow. I can't handle that shit, man. But writing is incredible. Mechanics are great. It's excellent. It's better than Fallout 3 as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so that's what I'm playing. I'm playing Kadelka again in air quotes. I'm not removing it until I beat that damn game though. I will play it again. I started playing Cosmic Star Heroine. Because I bought that years ago, like when the Switch first came out. It was like one of the ones on there. It's a little RPG that thinks it's Chrono Trigger. It's not, but it is very endearing. It's sweet. The combat system is decent. Like it's okay. It centers on abilities. So instead of things like, you know, in typical turn-based RPGs, because it's turn-based, it's usually like attack and then you have like magic or spells or something like that, right? In this one, all of your moves are just like abilities that you could swap out, and then you also have items that refresh every match, every battle. And you have like programs, which are like your shields that you equip that have like special abilities on them that you can unlock based on a certain skill level. But there's no real way to upgrade that skill level except with anyway. That part's a little broken, but it's actually kind of neat because you can customize your characters entirely. So like you can swap out all their abilities and like make them work well together, which is pretty cool. Like I actually think it's kind of an inspired combat system. It does take some like getting used to, and the way it works is that like you use one ability and then it's gone, but if you defend, it'll refresh your abilities. So you're kind of in this thing where you have to sort of decide like, okay, do I use all of my abilities and like max out how I'm using them so that like I give buffs to the other characters and then defend in one turn, and then I can, you know what I mean? Like it creates this really interesting sort of combat system. That being said, if you play it on like, they, you know, do that thing where they call their difficulty levels, you know, funny names. The second one, which would be normal, is too easy. I would bump it up to heroin, but then at the same time, occasionally you're going to hit moments where heroin is suddenly just like stupid hard because it forces you to use certain party members, and you're like, no, but my good party members are these ones, you know, although it levels them all up equally. So anyway, it's a good game, but I will say that like the story's kind of not a thing. Like you're like a super spy. It's like in outer space in this futuristic world where you can like fly to different planets and stuff. And it's 2D, by the way. So it's like sprite artwork. It looks like Chrono Trigger, but downgraded a little. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm going to beat it. It's not very long, but I have enjoyed what I've played. And I think if you're looking for something that's just sort of a kind of decent RPG with slightly interesting mechanics, I would give it a shot, because I could see this game like really, really clicking with people who like to just like really like maximize their strategies in a battles. And then I could see this game like clicking really nicely with those kinds of people. But yeah, if you're looking for something with like an incredible story and like really going to take you on this wild ride, this isn't it. But it's fun. It's fun.
But in fairness, like everything you said sort of excites me. So like for context, I've got this game on Vita. I picked up the limited run release a little while back, and it's like in the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks I'm planning to start it. So I'm like cautiously optimistic about it based on the impression I had before I picked it up, and based on some of the positive things that you've said there. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you think about it. Okay, so yeah, that's Cosmic Star Heroine. And I'm also playing Ring Fit Adventure. So I got this. Yeah, I got this the other day. Like last week, I just saw it was on sale again. It was actually on it was on like a slight discount on Amazon. So I was like, all right, why not? Which it surprised me because it's very rarely even available. And this thing's great. Like for some context, I've been working out like 6 times a week basically for like 4 years now, quite consistently. So I love the gym, go to the gym all the time. I would do like the gym 5 times a week, and then I do like running one day. So I'm quite healthy. And when quarantine hit, I've been doing home workouts, but I find them a little boring eventually. You know, there's only so many times I can lift my fucking milk jugs. So I was like, let's try something else. And this is pretty intense. Like I have to admit, the workouts can really hit you good, especially if you're like focusing on squats and stuff. Because those are just squats are squats, and it really registers your movements well. And I don't know, it's quite fun. Like I highly recommend it for people who like I look at it, and my gym's been closed now for a while because we're in like a semi sort of lockdown. And it's basically the price of 2 months of a gym membership. So like it's just kind of like I transferred my gym membership to Ring Fit, except I get to keep it. And my partner's been enjoying it too. She'll use it in the mornings as well after me, and you can really adjust the difficulty. And at the higher difficulties, it's a workout. I'm telling you. Like I'm doing like 31 squats for like, a little bit of damage on one dude, and I'm just like, all right. And it makes you hold them and stuff. So I like highly recommend this to people who are stuck at home and they want just like kind of a fun little workout activity to do. It's like it's I don't know, it's great. Recommend it. Like helps you adjust your posture and like form when you're doing these exercises, and yeah, it's just fun. So that's Ring Fit. I'll keep updating people as I go now. I'm 5 days in, consistent with it now, so I'll let everybody know how I go.
Yeah, I'd be interested. It looks awesome. It's one of those things where, like, if I had a Switch, I probably would have picked it up when it dropped. It looks like it nails what it sets out to do.
Yeah. And obviously, it can't be your sole workout. Like, it's definitely... I mean, it could be. But if your goal is to, like, definitely stay, like, quite healthy, you'd want to supplement it with a bit of cardio and maybe some, like, strength training, like lifting some weights. That's just me, though. Because it won't hit your back very well. Like, what it'll hit really nicely is your core, your legs for sure, and your shoulders. It can do really good work there. It could do okay work for your chest. It can hardly do anything for your back because your back is so intense. It's such a large muscle that you really need to do some like deadlifts or like even just like pull-ups or something. You know what I mean? Like to keep that's something
specific motions for your back as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like your back is such a huge muscle, and I honestly think the most important because it just helps keep everything stabilized. But anyway, that's fitness talk. So that's
regular segment coming to your ears.
Yeah, should we move along then to our major topic for the week? So our topic this week is the game that got you into gaming. The game that started it all for you. Which I suppose could be defined differently for some, because I know for me, the first game I ever played wasn't the game that got me into gaming, right? Like because I don't even remember what the first game I ever played was. It was too small. Do you mind if I jump in with this one, actually? I'm just gonna...
Knock yourself out, man.
Yeah, right on. So, yeah, handhelds are really the thing that got me into gaming, and the game that I think of, and that, like, in my mind, I see as the first game that really introduced me to the concept of, like, gaming as a thing is Pokemon Red. That was the one for me, you know? I did a presentation to my parents about why I should be allowed to have a Game Boy and Pokemon. Because they were like still of the era where like games shouldn't be a thing you're allowed to have. And this was like what won them over. They were like, oh, okay, you make some good points. And I remember buying it and playing it. And I had never played an RPG before in my life. I didn't even know what an RPG was. And I never knew what an RPG was for years after. Like I didn't know that Pokemon was one of those. And I remember... So you know in Pokemon Red how there's this guy who's sleeping in your way, and if you want to get past him you have to like talk to him, and then he teaches you how to catch Pokemon.
I do now.
Yeah.
Okay, well this is a thing. It's right by the first city, Viridian, like right before Viridian Forest, I think. So anyway,
yeah,
I didn't know you could talk to people. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to press A to talk to them. Right? I didn't know that was a thing you could do. I just saw this dude lie on the ground and I was like, what do I do? And I was like just running around, like didn't understand what to do. And I had to actually ask a friend who was like my age too, and he'd played it. And he was like, oh man, come here, you have to do this. And you have to like talk to him. And then that's how I learned like games could also be social, right? And so all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, okay, I can talk to this person and like, oh, I can interact in a lot of different ways with this game. Like it was... I don't know. It somehow just like it blew my little tiny child brain because I was very young when I got this game. I was probably only like 8 or something like that. Actually, maybe even younger than that. I was very young. And so my little brain was like, "Oh my god, games have so many possibilities." And so that was it. From there on, it's just the rest is history.
Nice.
What about for one of you who wants to go next? I don't know, Paula.
Sorry. For me, like the game that got me into gaming is kind of like, I don't remember which one was the one that actually made me cross the line, but we did have like a Nintendo 64 back at home, and I already talked about how Ocarina of Time was like this game that looked so cool that I could never play because I was the fourth child. And I did play other games like Mario Kart, Smash 64, and Pokemon Stadium, but more like with family and friends, and like in a kind of like party multiplayer sort of thing. But I think the one game that actually got me interested, like into playing like as an older child, I was like I think I was like 12 when I started playing Warcraft 3. And Warcraft Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3 The Frozen Throne. So my first game was actually an RTS and on PC.
Damn.
And it was like until much later that I actually got my own like 3DS and was able to play a wider range of games. I remember playing on an emulator, but that was after starting with this tactical game. Which is weird because nowadays I don't do like competitive shit.
I was going to say that's like the polar opposite from like the Paula of this podcast that I know. Like that's a whole other genre approach to gaming. Just all of it. It just is so. You could have given
like
me 1,000 guesses. I would have never guessed Warcraft 3. Never.
Yeah, like nowadays you can't even like get me to play anything that is like competitive or multiplayer because it is a time sink and I have a backlog, so no time for that shit. But back in the day, I only have access to Warcraft 3, so that's the thing I played for years until I got my 3DS, and I was actually quite good. Access. At the point, like, if one player dropped from my team, I could actually manage 2 to 3 different armies and still win.
Nice. Honestly,
I had issues back then.
Damn. Access is what's honestly most important usually when you're young, right? It's just like, what can you actually get? Because you can't buy everything, right?
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have the autonomy of decision all the time either. Like, sometimes people are stuck with whatever games their parents thought were going to be clever. Yeah. Like...
Damn, I'm glad we went with this topic then, because that is a fascinating answer from you, Paul.
Yeah, 100%. I guess I'll jump in. So I started on the Game Boy, and I'm sort of tempted to say one of the 2 games that I had there, which were Wave Race and Super Mario Land. And I've got fond memories with both, but I don't think either of them really. I think the game that really cemented this as a hobby for me was the original Ratchet and Clank on PS2. Because when we got the PS2, I was in that situation, so segueing, where my parents, God bless them, bought us 5 or 6 different games for the PS2, none of which we were interested in. Like, there was a snooker game, there was a Formula 1 game, there was some kind of quiz thing. None of the stuff we really, really wanted. But back then, consoles came with demo discs, and one of the demos on that disc was like a full playable demo of the original Ratchet and Clank, and it was the Metropolis level. I must have played through that level 7 or 8 times full before one day we were out at like a shopping centre, and that game was on the shelf, and me and my brother managed to convince our parents to pick it up for us. And weirdly enough, I played that game through to the final boss as like a 6 or 7-year-old, got stuck on it for ages, never beat it on PS2. And then when I got the HD collection on Vita, I pasted that boss like on the 2nd attempt. Something silly like that. I might even have done it first try. But it was like a weird sort of coming full circle thing where it's like I'd beaten my childhood demon in a weird way. But that game will always hold a special place in my heart. I loved that game. And that would be the one, that made it a hobby for me, that made it a thing.
Well, there you go. Pokemon Red, Warcraft 3, and Ratchet and Clank. That's an interesting collection.
What an eclectic combination, yeah. And if we segue it the entire other way, our question this week is from the resident cock of the forums, which is Cockroach, aka Matt. And his question for us was, do you have any games you regret finishing in hindsight for some reason? And I'd like you to jump in on this first, Alex, because I've actually got a pretty good idea of what you might be going for.
Oh, really? You think? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested to think what you think I'm going to say, but I'll go first here. So
Go on.
I don't actually like, so for me, regret is like a little tough because like there aren't many games that I like think like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, right? Like I went through and I was like, there are games that I played that I didn't like, but I wouldn't necessarily say like, I'm like, oh, darn, I shouldn't have played it. But there was one, and it was like a kind of a recent one, and there are 2 sort of joke answers that'll give. But the one that's legit is Creature in the Well. The
pinball one.
Yeah, it's the pinball one, because the reason I regret finishing it is that I knew when I was playing it at a certain point that I didn't want to finish this. I didn't like it. But I had that stupid, like, sometimes you have that like thing where it's like, no, I have to beat it. Like, I want that completion sort of thing, right? And I was like,
sense of pride, yeah.
Yeah, and that sense of pride. And that game sort of taught me a little bit, or like when I reflect on it after that, I was like, no, I need to just start dropping these games more. And I actually think after that game, so maybe I don't regret it. Maybe it is actually an important thing, but that regret led to me being a lot more ferocious in my retirements. Like, I'm just like, if the game's not getting me, I'm like, no, you don't deserve my time. Life's too short. And I'm like, goodbye. So yeah, that's the one. The other two games that I'll say real quick that I do regret is Mass Effect Andromeda and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because both those games aren't bad, but they sullied my view of the rest of them, and the others I love so much that I'm sort of sad that I beat them, because I can just, like, I love the original Mass Effect trilogy so much, and Mass Effect Andromeda I don't actually think is a terrible game, but it's just not as good, and now it's always in my memory of playing the Mass Effect games. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider was so mediocre, and I loved the first two Tomb Raider remakes, that it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, they're my last memories of those games, of those series, and I have to live with those memories, damn it. I wish I didn't have to. So anyway, that's me. What did you think I was going to say?
What I was going to say, though, I was convinced you were going to say Spirit Tracks.
Oh. But see, oh yeah, that's a good one, actually. I think I liked that game so much that I don't consider regretting, but you're right. You know what, Rick? You're right. That's the actual answer.
Your literal view on it was, I love it, I wish I hadn't finished it.
I know, you're right.
That's literally how you described the game.
You know what? Yeah, Rick's actually right. He knows me better than I know myself. That is the correct answer, Spirit Tracks.
There you go. What about you, Paula? What games do you regret finishing, if any?
I could have like 3. Like, the first one was one of them is a kind of regret, but like, I still had a good time, but it was like, at the end I was like, why the fuck did I do this? And that was Bravely Default. I actually like, it's not like I didn't have a good time with the game, but the whole loop thing,
I know,
drove me insane, to the point that even my boyfriend, who was like watching me play at the time, was like, are you a masochist or what? So yeah, that's like, it's weird, because like Bravely Default isn't a bad game, but it has a section of the game that kind of ruined it for me. But I am so goddamn stubborn that I couldn't just leave it there. So
you did the true end as well, didn't you? You did all of the punishment. I
actually got to the true end, and I was like, why did I subject myself to this?
More and more thinking I'm not going to bother personally, but like, I totally get why that would be a regret.
Like, it's to the point that I want to play Bravely Second, because without going into spoiler territory, you get a cliffhanger, a sequel bait.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, I did all of this. I punished myself for this. So, like,
oh no!
I haven't just played Bravely Second. I have it in my backlog. It is right there on my bookshelf. But I'm scared. I am utterly scared of another goddamn time loop.
And in fairness, a game which is on the exact same world map, if I remember correctly.
It is.
Like,
it is a direct sequel, from what I've gathered. I know that.
Sorry, go on.
I know Bravely Default 2 is like another cast of characters and maybe another map, but Bravely Second is a direct sequel to Bravely Default. And it is probably.
There's an interpretation where that's like an additional slap in the face of, oh, you didn't like playing again on the same map in that game. Well, here's another game with the same map. Fucking suck it.
Have fun. Yeah.
Like,
enjoy. The other one that was like, why? Is Hatoful Boyfriend.
That's a pigeon dating, right?
Yeah, it is a pigeon dating sim. It is one of the most like misleading fucking games I've seen in my life, because like you have like, you think it's gonna be lighthearted. you think it's just gonna be like some silly ass game, and it won't have like much substance to it. But if you do what I did and get all of the endings, all of them,
Why?
you are in for a mind blow. You're in for a mind blow. Like, the game is absolutely silly. It is relatively short, even.
You're very much a completionist, aren't you?
Yeah, it is relatively. It's like no more than 9 hours to 100% it. And
9 hours, that's not too bad, okay.
it's not too bad. The thing is, it's like, you don't see it coming. Like, it is like this emotional train wreck you can't look away from.
So
That's the best.
were you feeling beak by the end?
Boo! Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to How Long to Beat.
Oh, dear.
All right,
And like, a couple of was like, I still have fun playing it. It was interesting to see this kind of plot twist, but in the end, it was like, the fuck did I just play?
yeah.
It was one of the biggest, like, what the fuck moments I ever had in my life, and up to this date, I am not sure if it was good or bad.
Oh, now I'm curious. What was your last one?
And finally, and this may come to as a surprise to some, is Pokemon's. Do you have Pokemon Sword or Shield? Okay, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Because, like, I actually was a big fan of Pokemon, and I played like all of the games up to Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I kind of fell out of it with the Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, because it was like more of the same but worse.
Yeah.
So that already kind of stung. But then, like, Pokemon Sword Shield seemed like a return to formula, to the gym battles and stuff. And it actually looked promising. But then you see stuff like kind of like iffy practices around the game, as like the Pokédex wasn't completed. Like, they didn't have like the national Pokédex which wouldn't have been a problem if they then introduced it with the DLC.
Oh, did they actually?
Yeah, they filled it out with the DLC, pretty much, yeah.
Oh, I remember there was a controversy at the time because supposedly for the 3DS games, they made like high poly assets for everything. So the argument was, and I don't know if it was like a tinfoil hat thing, but that they omitted them by choice. They didn't have to omit them. Like, they had all the assets done. It's just a case of balancing.
Look, Pokemon is supposedly bigger than them now, right? Like, it's the highest selling like kind of
media
like
property ever,
in the world. So yeah, I think I might have to check me on that, but I'm pretty sure it is.
No, it is. I saw it in a video recently. Fun fact: Hello Kitty's like number 3.
Yeah. Sorry, Paula, you were saying?
Yeah, crack on.
Yeah. So, not only like the Pokédex thing, the model thing, like the whole like, why does this game have like N64 trees in the overworld? The wild area was a fucking mess. Like, if you even tried to connect to the internet, everything was like, I don't know, 2 frames per second for me.
Oh shit.
Like in the wild area, and sometimes you will even have like trouble connecting with your friends, which I actually tried to connect with a friend on the wild area to do like a raid and stuff, and we couldn't. We were literally in the same spot and we couldn't meet.
Yeah, we had to do it locally.
Also,
it was so hard.
Yeah. So like X and Y had like such a flawless multiplayer experience in my, like, for me at least, and I played like 1,000 hours of X and Y.
Shit.
Well, in some ways, in a lot of ways, Sword and Shield is a lot worse, especially because like the world seems like super open world. It's like, it looks beautiful, but the exploration is shit. Like, you can't get lost. You cannot get lost in this game. it has no dungeons. No, like the caves are like straight line to the end.
Yeah.
Right.
The forest is straight line to the end. You cannot get lost in this game. You are told these wild things that are happening, but you are never shown the wild things that are happening. Also, you can tell I'm fucking pissed by this game because I was waiting for it to get better, and it never did.
Yeah.
Because especially because the introduction of the game, the first 10 minutes, really set you up for something big, and it fell way too short. The wild area got repetitive. It is stupid that you cannot catch a Pokemon that's above certain level. Because in the older games, you can catch Pokemon of any level, but they will not obey you if you're not an experienced trainer, which makes more sense that you are not able to catch the Pokemon to begin with. You can have a Master Ball if you want it and cannot catch a Pokemon that's above your level.
Yeah, it's a rough
with a Master
one.
Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't be allowed to throw a Pokeball if you are not the appropriate level. Also, because I'm not finished with this shit, the getting to the ending of the game, you always have to battle this evil organization, catch the legendary Pokemon, whatever. Even in the Game Boy games, it can feel like pretty epic, especially since you have to navigate these dungeons and you have to fight trainer after trainer after trainer. And you have to stand your ground, and sometimes you have to be prepared because backtracking is a pain in the ass. And the fact that we don't have that in this game, and you have spoiler alert, I guess not because the story is shit. You are in this elevator and trainers come at you in each floor, and it's 3 battles, and they're easy, and they amount to nothing. And getting to the end of the game, there's this scene that is supposed to be overseeing the city and kind of epic, and it is a slideshow. Not even models. No, it is an image, a hand-drawn image kind of thing. A slideshow, 3 frames, and it is disappointing because all the game oh yeah, and that one other thing. There's one, the quote-unquote legendary kind of battle of the game.
Yeah.
You can literally do nothing and still win. Because it is a raid battle, 4 versus the one thing.
Yeah. You can just let them win.
Oh.
You can just let them win, and it was such, a disappointment of a game. And then you pick the league. You just get the league and get on with it, and it is a complete disappointment of a Pokemon game. I know that Pokemon isn't supposed to be this fabulous adventure RPG, but they usually still have that kind of childhood magic, if I can say it in a way.
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
And they still make you feel like a strong trainer when you get to the end. If you beat that final, I want to say final optional battle on Gold and Silver, you feel like a pro.
Yeah. I recommend...
If you know what I mean. If you know which battle I mean.
I do, yeah. I recommend Takahiro on YouTube. She's been on YouTube for ages, but she does these retrospectives, reviews of the games, and she does tons of research into it too, the company. I really recommend watching them because a lot of what you're saying, I think resonates in those. Those games really started out as these passion projects and then swirled into this mega corporation that just kind of took over. They're kind of a shell of what they were. Anyways, damn, Paula. Okay, well, yeah. I think that's the game you regret the most.
For you. That's the one game I regret with my soul to have ever played it. Not only finishing, I regret to even played it.
Damn! You heard it here first.
Well,
so Rick,
you know what
they
say? You either die a hero or you live long enough to become eviscerated by Paula.
What's your regret, Rick?
Well, to be fair, haven't really got many. So I had a bit of an epiphany aged 15, 16, playing a really shitty port of Army of Two, the 40th Day for the PSP, where there was like this really awful on rails section, and I remember just being sat there holding my PSP, going, "I don't have to finish this. Like, I can just take the UFD out. I can leave this." And ever since then, I've been fucking ruthless with retirements for the most part. Like, it's rare that I will finish a game that isn't at least like a 6 out of 10 for me. But there's like 4 really quick ones that I do regret, and also a cop-out answer as well. So, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles: The Crystal Bearers, a game that I thought looked amazing until I played it, and then I realised that it had all the problems inherent with being an ambitious game on the Wii. Haze for the PlayStation 3. If anyone's interested, there's a What Happened episode of that on YouTube. Outlines all of the reasons that game's fucking awful, and I don't know why I finished it in retrospect. Hydrophobia Prophecy, a third-person half game with really nice water physics and not a lot else going for it. And a game called Neon Drive for the PC, which is like a 3-lane arcade game that I remember actively hating all the time I played it. And thinking back now, I don't know why I got past the first level, let alone like finished the thing. It boggles my mind. I actively resented the game all the way through, and yet I spent 5 hours and 53 minutes beating it, and I can't tell you why. And my cop-out answer is I always regret finishing games that I love, like 13 Sentinels or Ghost Trick, because like you can never experience that story fresh the same way again, and it's why, like, albeit with a bit of exaggeration, I've been so hyped about Paula getting around to it, about June playing, about other people playing and experiencing it, because like I can sort of feel a facsimile of what I felt again through that. And there is sort of a regret's not even the right word for it, but there is sort of a sadness, a beautiful sadness, but a sadness to sort of closing a book on something that you garner so much joy from.
Totally.
Which definitely isn't what Cock was asking, but that's where we're at. That's what first occurred to me before I looked back and had a bit of a PTSD flash of some of the worst games I've beaten.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
There you have it, folks. A searing indictment of Pokemon Sword and other bad games.
Yeah, that got heavier than I expected it to,
I was like, damn!
To be honest.
That's great. Yeah.
That went places.
So are we ready
I am sorry, I'm sorry. It deserved the road, and I'm willing to burn it to the ground.
That was fine. It's time now for everyone's favorite game. How Long to Beat?
The
game.
The game. And I've already got it queued up.
Yes.
So without further ado, this week's game is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
shit.
oh shit.
That has multiple characters too.
I
We were both
forgot
so
it.
excited and then just slightly horrified.
I've beaten this game. That's why I'm like, shit. Okay.
I'm going to fail so badly at this.
Oh no. I haven't got the first clue.
Thing is, like, I'll give you like a slight hint. I know there are multiple characters for this, so I'm wondering if completion is to complete this means that you have to have like played all of those characters. Fuck, man, I don't know. I'm gonna say 8 main.
All right, because there's
11
funky
main
mode right
plus.
now.
Alex, 8 hours main.
11 main plus. That's as comfortable as I am. I think I'm on the wrong track, but shit.
Okay, I am going to go 12 hours main and 14 hours main plus.
I'm gonna
And
go.
Go on.
Think I'm gonna go 10 hours main and 12 hours main plus.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do 10 and 13.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna lower it to 9 and 12. Yeah.
We're all psyching each other out. Did you say 9 and 12, Paula?
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So
Let us know.
disturbing.
Let's find out.
Let's go. We all
Yeah.
happy with those times, or happy enough?
No, but yeah,
I
sure.
will never be happy enough.
Right then, let's see. Oh, we've all fucked it.
Damn.
Oh,
Of
What
course.
is
so main story 11 hours,
Oh, I was right on
but
that one.
main plus is 19 hours.
19 for main plus?
Oh.
Damn. All right. wonder how people are calculating that.
I almost just like sat on a main as well. And to be fair, I think I would have just about got it with 12 because it's within 1 hour, isn't it? So yeah, I would. Oh wow.
I would have got it too. Yeah.
No points this week. We've gone from anger to disappointment.
What's completion
it's been the whole gauntlet of emotions this episode. Sorry?
What's completion
on that one? 32 hours and a half.
I should have read that out.
That's what I thought.
Completion is 32 and a half. Yeah.
I knew it was somewhere high like that because of all the characters you can play. Yeah. Well, shit. All right. Yeah, there we go. No, none of us got it, but we tried.
Better luck next week, maybe. Possibly.
Yeah. And with that, toodaloos, Palaroos.
Take it easy, peeps.
Hello. Goodbye. You say goodbye and then say hello. Fuck you.